Most, if not all, team building strategy games have a team-orientated buff that can be gained through grouping characters of the same type together to either provide buffs to that specific character type or provide buffs to the whole party. These effects are usually called team perks, elemental attributes, party passives, or in Genshin Impact's case, elemental resonances. While Genshin has made this system pretty well, it can most definitely be improved. And I'm taking a specific look at you, Electro Resonance. So for the start of this video, I want to quickly show you my reworked elemental resonances, attempting to make them all viable, but obviously some are still going to stay stronger than others. And after we establish those, I want to go to the main topic of the video, which will be weapon resonances. Okay, listen, I haven't said it all in the name, but we're still going to go with weapon resonances. I won't focus on the rework of elemental resonances too much because I already have an old video on the topic, but I digress. On the left, you will see all the current elemental resonances effects. From top to bottom, Pyro, Cryo, Hydro, Electro, Animo, and Geo. We should all know what they do, but a quick summary: Pyro is attack bonus, Cryo is crit rate, Hydro is healing boost, Electro does nothing, Animo reduces your skill cooldown by 0.1 seconds, and Geo increases damage, shield strength, and decreases Geo resistance to enemies. Overall, very, very mediocre. On the right side of the screen, you will see my reworks. Now let's go through them. Pyro is a 10 to 15% attack increase, lower than the initial 25 because of the following effect of Pyro reactions deal 10 to 15% increased damage. The reason for this is because I want the elemental resonances to feel like they are buffing that element specifically in some way, but also provide universal buffs for everyone. Going down to Cryo, we have a 10% increased crit rate against enemies affected by Cryo, the same effect as the previous one, just a slightly lower value because of the last effect, which is Cryo reactions deal 10 to 15% increased damage. Hydro, following in suit, 10 to 15% healing bonus, it's decreased from 30% down to 10 to 15 because overall healing bonus is not a useful stat. Additionally, I added a 10% max HP increase, well, because more characters are now scaling with max HP, so having some way to boost it more so is really nice. And then obviously at the end, Hydro reactions deal 10 to 15% increased damage. Electro, this one's a no-brainer. Have it actually be a 10 to 15% energy recharge increase instead of gain 1 particle on Electro reaction. That just kind of makes sense in my mind. And then obviously at the end, Electro reactions deal 10 to 15% increased damage. Animo seems a bit stacked, so let's go through it. 15% movement speed increase because it doesn't matter, you just have it there. 15% stamina consumption reduction because that's in the previous resonance and it's really good. A 15% skill cooldown reduction because 5% from the previous resonance does absolutely nothing to any skill that is around the 5 to 10 second cooldown mark, which, by the way, is most of them, and a 5 to 10% swirl damage increase because I want to follow suit with the previous resonances, and I don't want to make it too powerful because swirl reactions are known to be super strong, so that's why it's 5 to 10%. And Geo stays the same. Geo already follows the same fundamental creation philosophy as the previous resonances that I've just mentioned. It has a unique effect to it specifically, which is the shield strength. It has a other effect, which is just regular damage increase, which doesn't target anything specifically, it's just overall damage increase. And then it has some sort of Geo-specific buff at the end, which in Geo's case, it's Geo resistance decrease instead of Geo damage bonus, which are both interchangeable on all of these. So thought I'd just keep it the same, just to show a different example of a same design philosophy. One thing you may notice with the changes is that the fundamental of the resonances stays the same, but the values have had a slight reduction and introduction of an element-specific buff. Each element receives a reactions deal more damage, which means when that element is the reactor. Example, when hitting a Hydro-affected enemy with Pyro, Pyro would be the reactor. If you had this version of the Pyro resonance, then that Pyro reaction would do more damage. Animo has had a slight value increase because the resonance is fine and dandy as is, but the values are just weak. A 5% cooldown reduction doesn't do anything to a 5 to 10 second cooldown, and Geo hasn't had any changes because it already follows the same concept, as I mentioned. The reason I made the current elemental resonance was solely for the purpose of this next topic, the weapon resonance concept. As I mentioned, the name isn't set in stone. Weapon resonances, weapon arts, weapon styles, all of them are great names, but for now, let's go with weapon resonances for understandability's sake. So here they are from top to bottom: sword, claymore, spear, catalyst, and bow. I'll go through them one by one and explain my reasoning. Let's start off with sword, which is when you have two sword characters in the party, you gain a 15% normal attack damage bonus. This one just sounds a bit right. I don't know what it is about it, but it just sounds a bit right. Even though not many sword users are normal attack users in their gameplay style, this one just makes sense. But if we take a look at bow, it is interchangeable with bow. Going on to claymore, each attack increases normal attack damage by 3%, stackable until the end of the full attack sequence. Most, if not all, Claymore main DPS characters use 80% of their normal attack sequence, and so having an incentive to go through the whole attack sequence with a per hit stackable damage bonus can make for some crazy normal attack damage. For example, for Eula, you rarely go to the two final attacks because it's faster and better to sprint cancel and start the attack sequence again. But with this resonance, there is a reason to go through with those last two hits. Moving on to spear though, it's a 15% attack speed when you have two spear users in the party. And much like the sword, this one just makes sense when you think about it. Spears are generally considered fast weapons, and an attack speed buff should have been added to the game a long time ago. Catalyst increases elemental mastery by 80 when you have two of them in the party, and this one again makes sense. Catalyst characters only deal elemental damage with their normal and charge attack, so it helps buff their overall reaction damage, but also the resonance can be used to boost another character's EM to get more value out of them, obviously like Kazuha or Hu Tao. And then finally we have bow, which gives a 15% charge attack damage bonus when you have two bow characters in the party. And as I said in the sword resonance, this is potentially interchangeable with sword because of having a cross between normal attack gameplay for Yoimiya and Ayato, both being bow and sword. But then you have charge attack gameplay for Keqing and Ganyu, again being sword and bow. But bow makes a bit more sense for charge attack damage bonus, as bow characters tend to have a unique effect on their charge attack like Ganyu or Yoimiya. And those are the resonances. And you may be wondering why think of this concept. What will it affect? It will affect the way you look at team composition. And here's an example. You want to make a Hu Tao team, but you don't have C1 Hu Tao for infinite charge attacks. So you make one centered around normal attacks. Well, in that case, you would choose Hu Tao, Zhongli, and receive a 15% attack speed increase. And then you would choose Jingzhou and Bennett for a 15% normal attack damage increase. These three choices of Zhongli, Bennett, and Jingzhou give you specific buffs that will boost your Hu Tao's normal damage, because that's what she'll be doing more as she doesn't have C1. But if you look at how the choices change if you do have C1, you get a team of Hu Tao, Zhang Ling still providing the attack speed because it's really good, and Yelan and Diona giving the charge attack damage bonus. The choice of Zhang Ling still gives the attack speed, and Yelan and Diona give the charge attack damage bonus. That makes it so you can get many high value charge attacks in one Hu Tao skill window. Now obviously these compositions aren't perfect, but this is just what I could think of. The weapon resonance idea adds an extra layer of thought to your team building potential instead of just putting Bennett Zhang Ling in every single team. I didn't think of every team composition possible because that would have taken a while, but if you have any that you can come up with using both the remade elemental resonances and the weapon resonances, then by all means tell me down in the comments below. I will 100% read all of them and try to reply. Also, if you have any ideas for the actual resonances for either the elemental or the weapon, also tell me down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, have a great day, and I'll see y'all in the next one.